Osterman. This is Alex McCarthy. This is Inside Indiana Extra Innings. There were no extra innings tonight. Indiana was 90 feet away from extra innings tonight in the College World Series against Mississippi State, but couldn't get it done. They fall 5-4. They fall into the losers bracket for the first time. They lose for the first time in this NCAA tournament, which isn't something that a lot of teams can say, but it's certainly not something that Indiana is going to feel that proud of tonight. And there's a lot of different sort of ways you can attack how this one got away from Indiana. Not necessarily errors, but there were some defensive miscues in the sixth when Mississippi State started to come back, and then just some location not quite there in the eighth when Mississippi State put up that 3 spot to take a 5-3 lead. But the biggest one, really, probably, and this was a problem against Louisville, but Indiana pitched around it. 10 runners left on base, 6 left in scoring position, including the game-tying run at third, with 2 outs in the ninth. Michael Basil nearly beat out a very poorly thrown ball to first base by Jonathan Holder, but Wes Ray scooped it out. And it was just kind of that play kind of maybe made the game or encapsulated the game a little bit in the sense that Mississippi State just made one more play, and if Indiana could have put a good swing on the ball, just looking at the box score here, they stranded the bases loaded in the third. They left 2 on in the fifth. They left 2 on in the seventh, and they had a lead, I believe, in almost every one of those or every single one of those situations. It just put a good swing on the ball and. Mathematically you win the game, and more than that, it's kind of been a departure, really, because they left 10 on base against Louisville, too. Again, they got around it, but mathematically, you can look at it however you want, but Indiana has been very good this year and this postseason at taking advantage of those moments, those opportunities. When you look at it couldn't get anything rolling for 8 innings against Valparaiso. Then when it finally starts stringing hits together, it scores 4 and walks off in the ninth inning.
And then keeps it going the whole
weekend. Very much kind of, foot-to-throat mentality in both of those games against Austin Peay. And very similar, not really in the way that Florida State hit Indiana, but Indiana had an answer for every single one of Florida State's rallies or sort of momentum swings, big innings in Tallahassee. And it's just been strange. I know that TD Ameritrade's a hitter's park, but that's not really been the problem. It's not like Indiana's been hitting a lot of balls into the gaps that are getting flagged down. They did have a couple that were hit pretty far in the ninth. Maybe in another park, Indiana walks off, wins 6-5. That's not how it goes. But what's been struggling, I think Indiana struck out 14 times tonight. You look at the third inning when they loaded the bases. I'm just looking at how it happened. They struck out to end. Casey Smith struck out with the bases loaded to end that inning. You look at the fifth when they left runners on first and third. Casey Smith struck out to end that inning. Yeah. So it's that they're just not putting balls in play. They're not, as I think Tracy Smith told some reporters after the game. Obviously, we are not there. This is not Omaha. They're not forcing the opponent to make a play, and Indiana has been very good. I think the word I'm going to use in my column later is pressuring its way to big innings, to big moments. Mm-hmm. When you strike out, when you hit, weak ground balls back to the pitcher, you're not requiring an opponent to make a play, and that's really what's been the big departure for Indiana's offense in the last 2 games.
Yeah, and you mentioned that 5th inning where they had runners on first and second, or the first 2 runners get on, and then Michael Basil bunts them over, runners on second and third with 1 out, and Dustin DeMuth hits a ground ball right at the third baseman. They get the out at home, and then Casey Smith strikes out to end that inning. I mean, that was just the if they even hit that, I think the infield was in, but still, even if you hit a ground ball more up the middle, you've got to put that somewhere else. I mean, with 1 out and runners on second and third, and to not even get a ball past the third baseman in that situation was just kind of, that for me just kind of represented what they did tonight. I mean, they struck out. They had 3 guys strike out 3 times, 2 guys strike out twice, and it was just a matter of if you take away 3 or 4 of those strikeouts and they put a ball in play, something happens. Whether it's
maybe they're still playing.
Yeah, and it's maybe a ground ball gets through, or maybe there's even an error. Who knows? But and then with the a lot of people were complaining about how this the park. Those could have been, Sam Travis's double off the wall in the ninth could have been a home run and all this stuff.
Home run.
And it evens out a little bit because there's that, the pinch hitter Trey Porter for Mississippi State came in
Looked like
with
he
a couple
did a grand
guys,
slam.
and he hit with the bases loaded and hit it either to the track or just in front of the track to Will Nolden, and in another so that evens out a little bit. And, like you said, that wasn't the problem. I mean, the problem was getting the ball out of the infield, getting the ball in play. It wasn't like the
reality
6,
is
7, 8 guys who were striking out. I mean, it was Schwarber, it was Dunn,
the reality is
Nolden.
he's playing in the same park.
Mm-hmm.
And, May was the beneficiary of that. They nearly lost to Oregon State on a walk-off in their first game. Again, you talked about could be a totally different game if Porter hits a grand slam in the 6th. But everybody's playing in the same park. Everybody's playing in the same wind. Everybody's playing with the same dimensions and the same outfield. Yes, Indiana's problem is just that, and I don't have the exact runners coming back, but one way or the other, Indiana's been very good at the production of Michael Basil and Dustin DeMuth in those 5 and 6 spots so that you can't even pitch around the 2, 3, 4 heart of the order. It just... now, but it is. One way or the other at the tournament, he was batting nearly 400 when the regular season ended. So, the pitching has been there. I thought anyway that the pitching staff would rally after Florida State. I thought Florida State was just a very tough matchup for Indiana, and not a lot of teams were as patient. The pitching staff's done basically what it needed to do. And, if you're Indiana, in one sense, you've put it's not just going to happen for you at this point in the season. The final series they've got on Wednesday night, and then they've got to beat Mississippi State twice, Friday and Saturday. So it's going to be
definitely an uphill battle.
Yes, a high road. I mean, and of course, it backfired. I think he pitched pretty well, all things considered.
He was in line for the win when when he left. I mean, he pitched very well considering. I mean, I think he only allowed 4 or 5 hits in 5 1/3. I mean, he
about he talked after Joey Donato's complete game shutout of Louisville. Well, I'm glad people are talking about our pitching. I think our pitching is underrated, or I think people just worry too much about our hitting. That's probably fair, but the talk about Indiana coming into this week was last week and this week, however you want to sort of characterize the start of the College World Series, was that Indiana's strength was its offense. There aren't any truly just kind of shut you down dominant arms. Donato's performance against Louisville notwithstanding, there's not necessarily a Mark Pryor on this staff, a pitcher who can just close guys down because he's just got overpowering stuff. A Carlos Rodon from NC State is a good example. But what's made Indiana so good, certainly what won them the series in Tallahassee, was the fact that their offense, their lineup is just so tough. Mm-hmm. And it feels like, it's just the wrong combination. Guys' timing is off. They're out of rhythm. Maybe now they're forcing things a little bit too much. Whatever the case, it's going to be, the offense has gone away, and it needs to come back very quickly.
In 2 days, yeah.
Because at this point, it's been a great season for Indiana, 49 wins, dual Big Ten title, College World Series berth, all that stuff. But lose Wednesday and the season's over. So we'll be here. We're always here, and we will probably be bringing you another extra innings on Wednesday night, win or lose. Indiana will face off against Oregon State, the number 3 overall seed in the field going into the NCAA tournament. Winner goes to Friday, loser goes home. For Alex McCarthy, I'm sorry, I think I talked you out of this a little bit too much. I'm Zach Osterman. I'm a very tired Zach Osterman. I just kind of rambled for a while there. And we'll be back with more coverage tomorrow. Thanks for watching. You've been tuning into Inside Indiana Extra Innings.